Welcome back, Nick Lenz. Comic Corner Classic / Non-Classic. This is episode number 1277 and Doubleshot number 1171. I got two Batman trades, basically Batman the Cape Crusader volumes 3 and 4. First up is volume 3. Yes, pretty much almost all the issues in here, a lot of them anyways, are written by Marv Wolfman. Yep, there's actually 3 different writers. Actually 4. You have Marv Wolfman, Alan Grant, Andrew Helfer, and Peter Mulligan. Artwork by the late Jim Aparo, the late Norman Botberger, Mark Bright, Karen Dyer, and Chris Spruce. Yep, this book contains issues. This is, of course, the third volume for Batman Cape Crusader. This collects Batman 445 to 454, the 14th annual, and Detective Comics 615. Mostly put for some of these issues, it's like the first several issues are simply Batman in Russia, just dealing with various thugs. Yeah, just him going to Russia. That's what the first story here is. It basically takes the first handful of issues in this trade. Also confronts a guy known as a demon. Yes, it's not KG based, it's just a KG demon in a way. Yep. This lasts for the first several issues of this trade. And of course, Jim Aparo does, of course, really good artwork. Yep, the artwork in here is really good. Aside from Batman going to Russia for the first several issues in here, not a lot of stuff happens. Yeah, it takes up the first handful of issues. Wolfman does a good job writing these issues. Of course, Vicky Vale has a guest star appearance in the storyline. And I think the storyline is wrapped up by about... It's not 450, is it? No, it's wrapped up by 447. Next up is the Penguin Affair. Yes, it's a 3-part story that starts in Batman 448, continues in 615, and concludes in Batman 449. It's just a 3-parter. It's a mini crossover event between Batman and Detective. You can kind of count this as a crossover. Mostly it's a storyline featuring the Penguin. Also, I think starting with this very storyline, I think that's when Alan Grant starts to take over the book. Let me look here. Yeah, starting with 448, basically, it seems like Marv Wolfman is phasing out being the writer of the book, and Alan Grant is taking over as the writer, and he takes over for a good period of time. I'm going to look up and see here, how long does he stay on the book for? Let's see here. How long is his tenure? And this, of course, is Alan Grant. He stays in the book for... let's see if I can find his issues here. Okay, here we go. He stays on for... Actually, I thought I found it. No, I don't think so. I thought I did. I had to look it up later. But I'm sure his run probably lasted a period of time. I'll probably look up later to see exactly, how long his run was. Yep. Yeah, the whole point of the Penguin Affair is just a storyline featuring Batman versus the Penguin for 3 issues. And the Penguin, one of his new schemes, involving gambling, whatever. In case you're curious, though, does the storyline have the Iceberg Lounge? No. No, it doesn't. It doesn't have... That's not invented until, the late 90s, I believe it is. And one thing, at least, what you gotta find interesting about the storyline is how Bruce Wayne puts on his Batman costume. He puts his pants on first, then he puts a shirt on, and then the blue underwear. Yeah, it's a separate thing. Kind of like Deathstroke, where the blue underwear goes over his tights. Okay, you are thinking, is that part of the costume? No, it's a separate thing. Though, in actuality, the reason for the underwear is to pick up the color scheme. So here, it's a separate part of the costume. He puts the gloves on. Though his cape and cowl along with his gloves are blue. Later on, it's changed to black. Yep. Yeah. But this is actually a pretty good storyline for what Batman has. I mean, I appreciate, though, that DC actually bothered to put in here 615 because previously they wouldn't do this. Sometimes they would include the other part of the story. They just have just the main series and not have any other series that cross with it. Yeah. Though I think this storyline was probably loosely adapted for a arc for Batman the Animated Series because well, it was a lot of birds because, well, penguins got a thing for birds. Yep. And 450 is the start of the return of the Joker. Yep. The return of the Joker. Yep. Also, there's this blonde woman with Commissioner Gordon. Who is this blonde woman? Sarah Essen, his future wife. Second wife. Yeah, this is a woman who previously appeared in the critically acclaimed Batman Year One by Frank Miller, one of Frank Miller's best works he ever did. And, well, actually, it's not her. Some are blonde. I think, because I remember, you have Sarah Essen pop up in issue, we have the Joker pop up in here, but this is not the actual Joker. It's later retcon in later issue that this is just an imposter who posed the Joker, and then the Joker comes back and basically kills him. Now, the Joker prior to this had last been seen where he apparently died in a helicopter crash, and here he is, alive and well. Yep. And it's a really good storyline. Now, does Tim Drake play a role in these issues? No, he doesn't. Not at all. The annual is summoned by Andrew Helfer. It's a Two-Face story. Yep, that's what the story is. It's a Two-Face story. And it's all about Two-Face. That's really what this story, this whole annual is about. It's all about Two-Face. Which is pretty fun. I believe I reviewed this previously in, I think it was Batman Arkham Two-Face. Yeah. Mostly put, it just has a recap of his backstory. Also, for some reason, the artist decided to draw him. Like, the way they drew Harley Dent's face, it's very similar to how they depict his face on the Batman animated series. The only difference is Harvey Dent's got different color hair. Here, he's looks like a mixture of brunette, more like a light blonde. While in the show, I think has raven hair. And also, in these flashback, in this annual, Batman's cape and cowl are black, which is basically the standard for a lot of the time whenever Bruce Wayne appears. Still has the logo, basically, where this one doesn't have his logo highlighted with yellow. It's just probably a different point in Batman's history when this annual takes place. It's kind of, in a way, a retelling of, basically, Two-Face's early years as a Batman villain. Yeah. Next we have a three-parter known as Dark Knight, Dark City. This one is not the Marvel Woman or George Perret or even Alan Grant. This three-parter is though up here in Mulligan. Yep, it takes over a few issues. Fun fact, this storyline later spawned an actual miniseries called, with the same name, Dark Knight, Dark City. It's a interesting three-parter. It's mostly just Batman just investigating a series of stuff. We'll also encounter with the Riddler, who, by the way, is wearing one of the looks he wears is the question mark suit coat, question mark tie, and the hat. Yeah, this is one of the two different outfits he's known for wearing over the years, which is also an attire he sported on the Batman 60s show. And no, this didn't come out in the 60s, it came out in the early 90s. And yes, he uses the very same look for Batman the Animated Series. It's an interesting three-parter, and it's just kind of an odd story for what it is. But it's Peter Mulligan. He always writes odd stuff. But it's a nice way to end this particular trade with this really kind of weird-esque story. It deals with a cult. It's very similar to, of all things, Batman the Cult by Jim Star. I think the writer was Jim Starlin in the miniseries, along with the late Bernie Wrightson as the artist. Next up is Volume 4, which you've probably seen this cover for. Yeah, this is the same cover they used for the first trade for Robin, because this trade has some Robin issues in it. The issues featuring Robin. This contains Batman 455 to 465 and Batman Annual 15. Alan Grant takes over full-time as the writer for these issues. And yeah, he's the writer for pretty much all the issues in here. And thanks to these issues, we also have the debut of Anarchy. Yeah, he first shows up in these issues, as I think he does. He makes guest star appearance. There's this woman with this white skull face who pops up in the first several issues of this trade. Yeah, it's just a serial killer. Yeah, if you're curious still if this Batman fight any of his classic villains in the issues, no, it's basically Batman fighting a series of characters. Yeah, and these first two issues I have discussed briefly before when I discussed Robin, because that's what these first two issues are. It's put basically one of two stories that serves as a backdoor pilot to a Robin series. I believe this one was the backdoor pilot to, I believe, the very first Robin volume of Robin. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then basically becomes a horror story after that, without Robin because he's gone solo. Oh yeah, and by the way, I thought the blonde woman was Sarah Essen. No, I think it's actually this red hair woman. Yeah, this is Sarah Essen, who's talking to Gordon. Yeah, that's Sarah Essen, his future wife, who he basically, well, resumes. Apparently, the way she looks like she actually aged a bit since she last appeared. And from what I can tell, anyways, when these two later married, Barbara Gordon apparently had no problem with it at all. Nope, she did not. Nope. And these few issues are simply basically Gordon resuming his relationship with Sarah Essen, and, well, admits their love for each other, which is quite nice. It's actually a really fun story. Then 460. Of course, that was a three-parter. 460 is a storyline involving Catwoman. Yes, Catwoman in her black spandex suit, which this, I believe, was the same suit she used on the Batman animated series, though that was gray. But this is basically her first post-crisis costume, not counting the time she wore her Golden Age attire. Yeah, though it's a very similar attire she wears nowadays. Well, what she wore for the last 20 years or so. But yeah, this is, I think it's like a 3 or 4-parter. Just basically those Am Right stuff. That's one thing interesting though you could say about some of these issues. It seems like, for these issues in particular that blueprinted these two trades, you can see sort of inspiration from the Batman animated series, because I'm sure they probably took inspiration from this. Despite the fact I think this was either just coming out or just came out just after Batman animated series. Mm-hmm. And then I think like the I believe like the rest of the issues in this trade, I think it's just a storyline involving Native Americans. Mm-hmm. I believe so. I'm looking up right now. Yeah, I think it's just a storyline involving Native Americans called Spirit of the Beast. Yeah, it starts with issue number 462. Yeah, the Catwoman issue is just a 2-parter. And now we have 62, which I think wraps up 64, I think it does. Or 60, I think it's 65. I think this is roughly just a 3 or 4-parter. I believe so. Yeah, it's nothing really all that interesting. But this is Alan Grant for you. Mm-hmm. There's not really much to discuss with these issues because, well, a lot of it just not very interesting. This is like, yes, I do enjoy reading Batman. It just, well, it's not something that's exciting to read, not like the present day stuff. Nothing against this stuff, but that's simply where it is. 64, I think it was either 64 or 65 that wraps up the story. Mm-hmm. I think 64 does. 65 is basically, well, a Tim Drake story. Mm-hmm. Which might plant seeds for another Robin series. Mm-hmm. That particular issue. The Batman and the 15, it's a tie-in to Armageddon 2001. Yes, Armageddon 2001. A story that still this very day gets sort of mixed reception because of its controversial ending to it. Where, okay, the story is called... Now, the story of Armageddon 2001 is that this being known as the Wave Rider is trying to figure out exactly who this guy Monarch is, and he's investigating various superheroes. A lot of the hints is that it was going to be Captain Atom as Monarch. But somehow in 1991, and this is quite weird for the early 90s, the early 90s had not been invented yet, apparently the ending of the finale for the storyline was leaked. How the heck was it leaked? No idea. So they changed it to Hawk of Hawk and Dove. That's not a joke. They seriously did, despite back all the hints pointing toward Captain Atom. It went nowhere. And then the storyline was kind of continuing the pages of Justice League. What was the name of that series? It was that Justice League series that featured Captain Atom. What hints at him becoming Captain Atom again, and he became Captain Atom in Battle for Bloodhaven. But unlike some of the other Armageddon tie-in, this one's quite interesting. We have Robin when he gives up being the Robin. It's just basically kind of like an alternate future Batman, like everyone just giving up, and of course, crime skyrocketing. It's a quite interesting annual, to say the least. But lots of guest appearances by various characters, aside from Batman, Robin himself. You have the Joker, Catwoman, Commissioner Gordon. It's a really interesting annual. Plus, have a guest appearance by, of all people, Anarchy. Yes, he's a character created by Alan Grant. And you probably think with the pointy ears, is this Doug Moak in the artwork? No, it's Nor Botfunker. Botfunker, I think it pronounced, yes. Then we have Catwoman versus Killer Croc, which Catwoman wins. Of course, looking for the Joker. Of course, you have Robin fighting Anarchy, which is quite interesting. It's kind of an interesting annual. It's by far really good. There's something how weird it is. Like, oh look, here's Batman's got frickin' jetpacks. Jet boots. Yes, he got frickin' jet boots. Because of course he does. Yep, but that's pretty much it for those two trades. They're good. I don't think they're terrible per se. It's just that, well, it's a lot of basically Batman dealing with various crimes per se. It's kind of very realistic. The Marvel Wolfman stuff I thought was quite interesting. I think the Alan Grant stuff is probably some of those more weaker stuff he's done. Yeah, a lot of Anarchies type stuff and just various other things. Yeah. I'm trying to see if I can find can't see if I find the what issues he worked on for Batman. This may have been his only issues. And it's just surprising though that DC has put a more that's like they go straight to 65 and you don't go any further than that. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about if there's any more lines for Cape Crusader. What do I give the two trades? Well, I give Volume 3 a 9 out of 10. 4, I give it a 8.5 because it feels like a bit of a step backwards for the book. Especially all the weird stuff like fighting, like dealing with stuff with Native Americans. Okay. I think the Robin stuff was quite interesting for what it was. The annual was quite interesting, the 15th annual. 14 is really cool. I love it. But there's not really much to say about these two trades. Yep. So yeah, that's a particular review. Stay tuned. My next video is going to be quite more interesting. Talk about Squirrel Girl and X-Men. Okay, till next video. Bye.